This is Richard Hayden Dunn. I'm doing my presentation for our leadership class. Just remembered it was due Friday. I know I'm wearing Nike. Just got done working out at my sister's in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, right up north of that, actually. We're doing our family thing here. So I apologize if I don't have the perfect attire on for this. Worked till 11 this morning and drove up to Gatlinburg this afternoon and forgot this was due Friday. Thought it was due Sunday. So I want to just go ahead and get this done. I'm doing mine on the life of Ronald Reagan. We were told to pick somebody who not really a coach, and when I was looking at this in the beginning, what I wanted to do was do it on a Nick Saban, a Vince Lombardi, somebody that I really can connect to, because sports is something that I've grown up in and grown to love as a young lad, and now in my mid 20s. But it was good to really research a politician that I knew a little bit about, but it felt good to really get to know somebody through history, of someone that I would have never researched with if it wasn't for this project. So that was kind of cool. Ronald Reagan was born February 6, 1911 in Illinois. He died June 6, 2004 in Bel Air, California. I know we all remember the show Fresh Prince of Bel Air. So that's some humor there. He had few friends, but a very tight family. His family meant a lot to him. They weren't high on education, which is pretty surprising since he turned out to be a president. His family, growing up, he wasn't very wealthy. He had hardworking parents, but there was really no formal education. And he had one brother. They moved to Illinois, where he had many friends and enjoyed the outdoors. So once he moved to Dixon, Illinois, from Tampico, Illinois, is where really he started to have a lot of friends, enjoy the outdoors, enjoy fishing, hiking, hunting. Some of the little things that I read about him in the library, was those are some of his favorite things to do. He graduated from college, which was obvious. He served in the Army Reserves, which when you research any president, or most presidents, not all presidents, have been in the military at some sort of time, fought for us in some war. Bush, all of them. So not all of them, most of them. He was the president of his student body in college, and he started his leadership journey. College is kind of where he took control of his future and figured out who he wanted to be, and found out how much potential he had to be, something great, which he was, our president, the 40th president. So, that's something to be proud of, coming from a family where they didn't have much education growing up, turning out to be a president. You got to love stories like that. I know I do. He was an Irish background. His family has an Irish background. He was brought up believing in freedom of religion, and he did not like racial discrimination. And that's something that's good to see. That's good to know. He was a very popular kid in college. Like I said, when he moved to Dixon, he kind of started to figure out who he was, and that went on to college, where he was a very popular young man. He has a charming personality, very likable. He was a great communicator, a great public speaker. If you go to YouTube, there's a few speeches that you can watch on him, and they're awesome. He loved humor and used it to his advantage. He had a lot of funny quotes about the only man that works is the man that's not working hard. Just funny stuff like that. He was trustworthy, outgoing. He was really a guy that ran the room at all times, and when you walked into a party, you knew he was there. And that's the kind of vibes and the personality that he gave off in every room and in every setting. He was a great leader because he knew how to treat people. Treating people, I've taken this class. This is my first time, obviously, in this class, but I've had Dr. Shannon before, and some of the things that he's taught me is, you're a leader by the way that you treat people. And if you can get people to respect you, you're automatically their leader, and that's when you down the road become everyone's leader. And that's something that he used to his advantage. His nickname was the Great Communicator, which is very impressive, because in any business, any industry, at any form, at some point you have to communicate with someone else. And if you can master communication, you're on your way to mastering leadership. I believe personally, leadership starts with communication. If you can't communicate, if A cannot communicate with B, the outcome is not going to be good. And that's something that he was great at. His followers were obedient and wanted to carry out his goal. So when he came in a room and was like, hey, we got to get this done, let's do this, his followers were just as pumped up as he was and made that happen. And that's how he became so successful, is he surrounded himself with people that respected him. Great leader. His leadership characteristics include likable. He had great vision, communicated that vision to others, like we just talked about. Did not micromanage. Turn enemies into partners. If you can turn your enemies into partners, you can do anything in the world, and I honestly believe that. And he knew how to admit mistakes. Some of us are so high strung we can't say, "Oh man, this one was my bad, my bad." You know, your team respects that. Everybody respects a leader that can announce to the room, "My fault on this one, guys." He accomplished many things in his 8 years serving as a president, 2 terms. He had 8 years of peace in the United States, and that's something that most presidents can't say, and that's very, very, very respectable. He helped restructure the Soviet society. He diminished influence of federal government, giving states more responsibility. The Berlin Wall came down because of his influence, which we all know. All growing up in history classes, we all hear about the Berlin Wall. And that's something that our kids will, grandkids, and it's crazy to think that Ronald Reagan was one of the main influencers for that. I think that's awesome. He contributed to ending the Cold War, which goes hand in hand with that. He revived a slow economy, enhanced military numbers and budget, brought reduced spending in Medicare, food stamps, and federal education programs. You can see from what I'm saying is he wanted to help everyone out, all different lifestyles, all different countries. He wanted world peace, and that's something to be proud of. He signed an agreement to eliminate intermediate range nuclear missiles, which I'm not sure if that's still going on these days, but back when he was a president, it was signed. He chose Ronald Reagan for many reasons. He brought America back to its greatness. He was a leader and a salesman because he was convinced the American people after recession could succeed. He was convinced that the American dream was real. He lived the American dream, and he believed everyone could. He was the American dream. He sold the American dream, and I love that. He was a great delegator, knew how to use it to his advantage. He had a great sense of humor. He was our 40th president. He was Ronald Reagan. He was the man. When we look back in hundreds of years, Ronald Reagan will be one of those 5 presidents that our history books will have a whole chapter about because he was so impressive and he was so different than everyone else. Like I said, I'm Richard Dunn, and this was my presentation on Ronald Reagan. Thank you, everybody. Have a great Thanksgiving. Thank you.